When you were lost in the woods, you were misunderstood by everyone, everyone. You were searching for words, but they came out absurd. And no one heard you, no one heard you speak your mind. They lost the time. Where's your heart? Where's your heart today? Forgive yourself, but don't give yourself away. And now you're out on your own, getting farther from home. And everywhere, everywhere you see hurting and strife. People cling to your light, but no one sees you, no one sees you. Keep your why, it's all a lie. Where's your heart? Where's your heart today? Forgive yourself, but don't give yourself away. Away, away. Forgive yourself, but don't give yourself away.
Hello, chat. Gaelynn, they will be able to see you in the subtitles, so be careful. Hi, chat. How you going? How's it going? I usually play a longer song than that. I'm kind of early-ish, but I think that's okay. Chat. How's people doing? Are people here? Is the main question. It's not telling me if people are. But hi, how's it going? Welcome to episode 2 of Oh, now it says I'm live. Welcome to episode 2 of CripTalk. I'm excited. I really am. Of course, today, like last time, our internet almost went out right before, because apparently it likes to storm every time I do this. But we're doing all right. So welcome. I'm really excited. As you know, I'm going to have chat off. Like, I'll be able to see chat, but Gaelynn might not be able to see chat. I'm not really sure if she can. But I will have alerts off during this, just so we're not interrupted. But I'll thank all of you after the stream. I promise. So let's get to it. Gaelynn, give me a nod. They can't see you, but give me a nod if you're ready. All right. So my guest tonight is Gaelynn Lea. Say hi, everybody. Woo, yeah. Oh, I had you off. Now they can hear you.
Oh, hello. How are you guys?
Hi. Welcome. It's great to see you.
Wait, what am I doing? I'm ruining your thing. Okay, there you go.
You're not ruining
I don't know
anything.
why there was volume. Okay, continue.
Hi.
Back at it. Hi. I am not a good Twitcher, apparently.
Oh, that's okay.
I will have to work on this.
It's okay. I've had, hours and hours of playing Minecraft here, so I think, that's the only reason why I know what's happening.
Yes.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, too.
You've been...
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. You've been real busy doing... I know you do your shows every Sunday?
Yep, every single Sunday. Started doing them in March, on the 20th of March, and then have kept doing them every week since then. So
That's awesome.
it's one of those things where it's hard to believe it's over half the year, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's so weird.
I can't believe it's October.
No, it's like the end of October. It's not even like the beginning of October. What's going on? It's too weird.
It's very weird. This has been, it really makes me believe time just changes all the time. Because, did summer happen? I don't know.
Kind of, I don't know.
It kind of feels like it's starting to get to the weather. The last time we saw each other in person was when we did that show, I think. in
Yes.
right outside of Philly,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, you're right. That was.
In that coffee shop.
Yeah, what the heck? When was
It was in
that?
the winter. It was raining. I remember that. Mel's in chat. Maybe
Hmm.
she remembers, but
November, maybe, or something?
maybe so like a year ago.
2019. Yeah,
How
I
quickly the
guess.
world
I've seen you
changed.
online a few times, so I feel like
Yeah, we've
I've
talked online.
actually seen you.
Yeah,
I've seen you online more than I've seen you in regular life, I would say.
yeah. I think the
Probably.
world's moving that way. It has to.
Yes,
We
I
look
know.
the same, and on digital. It's fine.
Yes, yes, we do.
And
Sweet.
that was a fun show. That was an odd show, but a very fun odd show. I like
Yes.
the odd shows.
Yeah, I only play at accessible venues, so
Mm-hmm.
then it's a little trickier to find places that are like the right size.
Mm-hmm.
And this place was excited because I think they employ some people with disabilities at that coffee shop.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they were pumped and it was fun, but it was like poorly advertised and also very small and kind of off the beaten track.
yeah.
But
It
the
was
people who
fun. I
were
had a
there
great
had
night.
fun.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah,
great
I did
night.
too. I mean, that's the thing. And I got to hang out with you, and that was sweet.
Yeah,
Was that the first and only time I met you in person?
I think so.
Like,
I think it is.
weird.
We've
I
talked
feel like-
online a lot.
yeah. I know, like
Yeah.
more than I'm realizing now. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we've had a lot of conversations actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was weird. That was cool. I had followed you for quite a while, so I was like, I gotta have that guy do the show with me so that
Yeah,
we
that
can
was.
meet in real life.
And we have such different styles of music that it was an interesting night. They got a lot of noise from me.
Yes.
And then they got peaceful harmonies from you, and I think it was a
Yes.
nice balance, The noise.
Yes,
But I
but the
was yeah.
looping kind of ties it together in a
It
very
does.
loose way.
Yeah, I was I got on about 6 to start setting up for this, and I was listening to one of your records while I was doing it, and I went
Which
super
one?
back. I went to Imperfecta.
Oh, that's like the earliest one.
Yeah, I
That's
went
the
for
first
it.
one I ever made.
Yeah, it's really good. I like you play some of those songs still,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
I had never heard them like that. I had never heard like you, and it's you. It's mostly instrumental.
Yep.
And it's you on fiddle, and I forget who is on guitar. Somebody else is on guitar.
Alan Sparhawk is
Yeah.
his name.
It was very good. It sounded like I don't know if you know Bonnie Prince Billy, but
I know who it is. I suck so bad.
it's-
Like you could just
there's
make
so
a
many
whole show of
musicians.
like telling me artist names and being like,
Yeah.
"Have you ever listened to them?" And I would tell you no. Like it's really bad.
yeah,
I have a small range, sadly.
I'm like that with
um,
movies. I don't know anything about actors or movies or anything.
Well, I don't either. Like
Yeah.
I grew up under a rock and kind of. I mean, I know some. Like I know some. Like Celtic. I mean, I know small genres, but I have my guitarists, both of them. I have two that I play with when I play out, which is not right now, obviously.
Mhm.
They both know everything about the history of music. I mean, they just know so much. They'll be
so
like,
good.
"Hey, here's a joke," and they'll play something, and they'll be like, "It's this song, but with one wrong chord," and then they'll both laugh, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, there's no way I was ever gonna even understand that joke, and so. But it's good to have them in your band because then they actually have this huge breadth of knowledge, and then I can just be like, "Hey, let's see if this works." And then
Are they like Celtic music background, or are they more
No,
jazz?
they're
or-
rock.
rock,
They're rock and roll. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. They're both like were kind of in band and choir and kind of stuff in high school, but then they went into the Minneapolis music scene basically,
Yeah.
and so they both have rock bands of different styles. Of their own, and
Yeah.
then they're in my band too.
I
They're
think
really
one
cool.
thing that's cool is well, we met from the Tiny Desk concert in
Yeah.
2015? 16? Okay.
Yep.
And I personally did it on a whim. I was like, sure, I'll try this thing out. And I
Yeah.
kind of feel like you were the same way. You were just like, oh, I'll just try out this contest. Nobody will see it.
Yeah.
That's how I
Well,
felt.
yeah, I wouldn't have even known about it, but two of my fiddle students told me, you should, apply for this contest or whatever, or
Mhm.
enter the contest. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe. But then one of my best friends also told me like a week before it was due,
Mm.
and I was like, okay, 3 times. It did feel kind of like third time's the charm. I should probably do this? Like, because I don't enter contests usually. That's not like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not who I
It's
am
weird
usually.
for
But
music too to enter a contest.
and yeah, and then but then you read the rules and you're like, oh, this is actually not that gross. Like,
Yeah, they're not
one
stealing
time
stuff.
in like 2004, I actually, on a whim, also with my cousin, went down because she's like, I want to drive you down to Minneapolis so you can enter America's Got Talent, which I
Okay.
did.
Oh,
But
wow.
luckily did not get in, which is great because if you read their contract, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
we can say whatever we want about you and then we own you for a year
They
after
own
the
whatever
show.
song you play.
Oh, I did not know that, but that's
Yeah.
even grosser. But
Yeah.
it was basically like I was not even playing out like. I mean, this was really long time ago, so I had just started playing in my hometown. I was not doing as much, and I'm super
Yeah.
glad that that's not the angle that my life took. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it works for some people, but I'm not a pop artist, first of all, and
Yeah, your stuff is
I
definitely more experimental than
yeah,
pop
I just don't
music.
think it would have made that much sense on that show, anyways. But
Yeah.
it just wasn't for me, especially when you read the contract. You're like, I feel like I'm literally signing my life away, and it's not at
Yeah.
all how the NPR one was. If
That's
you read,
awesome.
yeah, it was just kind of like you go on a tour and you keep all the rights to your music, and I was like, okay,
That's pretty
sounds
cool.
great.
That's
So
pretty
yeah,
cool. So I was reading that your music teacher got you into playing music, but it seemed like you had played like everything seemed vague about that. Like, so you were into music, playing fiddle or just music theory?
my family is just really musical. So
Gotcha.
like my mom is the choir director at their church, for
Oh,
example,
nice.
and like they both ran a dinner theater, like a musical dinner theater for a lot of my childhood from age like 10 to 30.
Oh, wow.
They were doing dinner. So they would do 3 plays a year and they were always musicals. So I was around music a lot, but I didn't get started on playing an instrument until that teacher came along. So in fourth grade, an orchestra played for our class.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just being like, this is amazing. I just loved it. And I remember thinking, well, the next year I could join orchestra. I'm going to do that.
Nice.
And I went home and told my mom, and apparently she was like, oh, crap, in her head. Because, like, I'm very small, and the way my
Yeah.
arms are bent, she didn't see how that would be possible, but she decided not to say anything. So she just said, if you really want to do it, you'll figure it out, which is great because then the teacher the next year in fifth grade, that teacher, in order to join, you had to take a music listening test. And so I
Okay.
took that, and I was the only student that year to ace it. And so I think she was like, oh, this girl has an ear.
You have a
So
knack for it.
yeah, so she said to me, I don't know if we'll be able to figure it out, but why don't we experiment with the instruments? So that was her idea, which is great because there's a lot of people I've met who are like, yeah, my teacher told me it was impossible, and then they
Yeah,
never get started.
for sure.
So I was very lucky
Was
to
it like
have
that,
her.
like in general for you growing up? Were your parents like, "No, we'll figure this out," or do you feel like they were like sheltery?
No, they weren't over
That's
sheltery.
awesome.
Yeah, the one time where we kind of came at odds was I wanted to move away for college,
Mm.
and I didn't want to bring a PCA. I had an aide in high school, but my parents just helped me at
Yeah,
home. I didn't have like aides coming in helping me,
same.
and
Yeah.
so I knew I wanted to try to live independently, and that did not go over well with my mom. So we fought for like 3 years, basically the end of high school. But I did end up going, but it was kind of a mistake because I ended up spending like 50% of every day trying to like get ready for the morning and get ready
Yeah.
at night. Because I mean, it just took me
It just
a
takes you
lot longer.
longer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do better with help actually. But I'm glad I did it. Like, I mean, it was
It
like
was a
a
good
good time.
experience. Yeah.
I had 3 years where I was pretty much independent. My roommates would have to help me clip my toenails. That's the one thing I cannot do.
Yeah.
And so that was traumatic for them. But other than that, I did everything else myself. And so
Nice.
I'm glad I did that. But they were kind of right. But usually my parents were like, yeah, you can figure it out. And then I got just lucky a few different times where people would come along who would like help make it possible, like that teacher. And then when I was a little kid, I told my mom I wanted to be a ballerina.
Yeah.
And they had my aide from preschool was like, well, then we got to get you in some classes. So she actually started an adapted ballet class.
That's really cool.
With like one of the top ballerinas in our town. It's not like a huge city or anything,
Yeah.
but she taught it once a week. And so I did ballet for most of my childhood. So I just got lucky. I
That's
feel
awesome.
like I wish that was more the norm. Like people
Yeah.
being like, oh, you want to do that? Let's find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. And I think
So
it's important for that, like luckily you were good at music, you know, and I think
yeah.
it's tough. I remember being a kid and people seemed supportive, but like I took we were like kind of forced to do choir when I was growing up,
I
and
know choir is like the one thing every kid
I
has to do.
sucked at it. I sucked. I cannot. I'm not a choir kid. But they were like, "You're doing so good." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Don't
You're
lie.
like,
I
you're
don't. I
lying.
don't need
Yeah.
this kind of motivate like this
Yeah.
whatever it is, uh encouragement. No, it's okay to be a shitty at something if you're a crip."
Yeah, actually, good point, though. It's true. It is kind of like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't the best kid in my orchestra. I was good. I was in the upper level because I practiced all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was, and the one, so I had this one teacher, my high school teacher, not my early one, but my high school teacher, he was less into adapting. So he would just be like, I don't know what to tell you. So
Yeah.
I never got to be at the top level, partly because I don't think he would have put me there. But actually, it's fine because you don't have to be like,
Yeah.
oh, you're disabled, you're the best at this. I was sort of
Exactly.
in the middle of the pack. I mean, I practiced a lot, and my friends did
It
too.
helps
So
you
we were
work harder.
nerds,
Yeah,
mega
exactly.
nerds.
But
Yeah, but
you
I did work really hard.
but
Yes.
you're when you play, your fingerings are the same as like a
Mm,
regular. They're not?
I
Okay.
don't use my fourth finger.
Oh,
So I
okay.
move around to
Yeah.
reach where the fourth finger would usually go.
Oh, that's awesome.
But everything else, I mean, a lot of it does cross over.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
sounds a little different because I do a cello vibrato, not a violin vibrato.
Yeah, yeah.
But overall, it's not as different. Like I taught people how to play fiddle right before I won the Tiny Desk, but I would have them do it on their shoulder. I would just like look up pictures and tell them like,
Yeah.
okay, don't do it like this, do it like this. And
Did
I
you
wouldn't teach at like Juilliard or anything,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like it
yeah.
worked for beginners.
Yeah. Did you I know when I first started playing guitar the way I do with my thumb, I had so many people trying to encourage me to learn the right way to play.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I think the more I'm very stubborn in that way. So the more somebody tells me I should do something, the less likely I am to do it.
Yeah, me too.
so so I still don't know how to play guitar the right way. I have no idea. I know a D chord. That's about it.
Yeah, guitar would be hard. I would
They're
think.
huge.
I mean, they're huge because I had a half-size guitar.
Yeah.
And I could play some of the chords, but really the angle. I mean, it was, and I had to string it left-handed because of the way my arms face. But it was not like, yeah, I think your adaptation makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
for, like especially. Your arms are longer than mine, I guess, but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah. It's more the
body is
wrist.
big.
It's more the wrist. I can't turn my wrist all the way like back, like
Yeah.
for barred chords.
Yeah.
And
What
yeah.
about the other hand? Can you switch hands?
No, I can't play lefty at all.
Okay, so it's not okay.
No,
Because
I
for
probably
me,
could play
there's-
lefty. I'm gonna try it tomorrow.
Then you'll come to the next show.
Yeah, playing
I know
lefty
I'm gonna
now.
play left-handed. Yeah, that's yeah.
But so you're playing. What got you into Celtic music over like? Because the stuff I've heard is like experimental rock music, like noise rock almost. That's at times like
Yeah.
Sigur Rós influence kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Although I've never listened to Sigur Rós. Again, I'm really serious about this not knowing anything thing.
but that's good. I think that's good because it's more pure the way you're hearing the music. Then
Well, I mean, not that I wouldn't listen to music, but I don't
Yeah.
mind approaching it from like this sounds cool,
Mhm.
and then not really feeling like, oh, am I copying this person or that person? So the Celtic music came first. I did
Gotcha.
classical through high school, and then switched to Celtic music in college because I realized I wasn't going to major in music, and I didn't really
Yeah.
want to. Orchestra's hard. Like you learn a new, especially for me because I have only the three fingers that I use. Fast passages take a lot more time to practice
oh yeah,
because I'm moving a lot more.
yeah.
And so I was just like, for one credit, it was one credit, and I wasn't majoring in it, and I was like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is pointless. So I switched to a Celtic group in college that met once a week, and it was just like a small band of five of
Nice.
us, and it was very fun. And I did it every semester in college, and then the experimental stuff came later because Alan Sparhawk, that guy on Imperfecta, the album
Mhm.
you mentioned before the show, he plays with looping pedals, and he introduced me to the looping pedal. And he
nice.
said, let's do this experimental project where I'll loop you, and you just play harmony to what you're hearing. And that's how I got introduced to the looping pedal.
Nice.
But then eventually he brought me one and said, you should learn how to do this on your own.
Yeah.
Because you can play by yourself. And that kind of just opened up a lot of possibilities. So the first album I made was like a cross. It was like a Celtic music, but made experimental with the looping pedal. So the first album is almost all traditional music kind of reworked. To be a little more experimental. And then kind of got more and more down the road.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It gives you so much variety of what you can do. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way about looping, but it really expands what you can do, especially solo. But even in the context of recording, I think it helps you think differently.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole I remember hearing George Harrison's like concert for Bangladesh, and there's this guy Ravi Shankar, I think that's his name.
Who I love.
Yeah.
I do know who that is.
Yeah, I figured you did. And all that kind of like, I'm not big into jam bands. Like, I'm not a Dave Matthews guy, but that kind of like mantra jam is kind of different to me.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of thing. Too. Yeah, and I can get into that. I used to work at this circus sideshow in New York, and every morning I would come in and I would do giant loops. And every now and again, I would notice that the whole staff would just stop and be listening. And I'd be like, stop. I'm alone. Don't do this to me. These are my thoughts. Don't do it.
These are my allowed thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that you could hear things out of the amp.
Yes. Good point.
Before Tiny Desk, were you mostly touring with a band, or did you do solo gigs at that point?
I was playing... Well, I never toured at all until the Tiny Desk, so I only played in my hometown in Minneapolis a few times. But I was playing in some bands, like that one with Alan Sparhawk, and then there was another one called the Get Arounds.
Is Alan Sparhawk in a band called Low?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody in chat
and
asked.
he's from Duluth as well.
Nice.
And so he saw me play at a farmer's market and was like,
that's awesome.
With one of his friends.
Oh, you were playing at the farmer's market.
Yeah, it was a musical thing where the guy, his name is Charlie Parr. If you've never looked him up.
I think I know who Charlie Parr is.
Okay, he's one of my favorite artists, but he is from Duluth, and I was playing with Charlie because we knew each other from Duluth, and he was playing that day, and Alan was watching and said, like 3 weeks later, texted me and said, I saw you play with Charlie and I want to do a project with you. So that's how we got connected. But I was in a project with him called The Murder of Crows.
Yeah.
And then I was in the Get Arounds and another band called Snow Barn.
Yeah.
Which means snow children in Swedish at the time. And then I was also starting at that time to play solo more often. I had just released a solo album. Of the fiddle, it was sort of more instrumental at the time. And then the more I wrote, the more I learned how to loop my songs and started playing. But the Tiny Desk was the first time we ever toured, so it was a very weird way to get into. I mean, it was like really sudden, basically.
What was the local music scene like when you first started gigging? Like, were people like excited to book you? Did it matter that you used a wheelchair to them? Like, do you think it made it easier or harder?
Like what I did a lot of when I was starting in Duluth is I have a good ear for improvising, especially back then, like, because I literally just did it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I would sit in with people and
at like open mics and stuff, or
then I'd formed a band, and I was pretty like not well known, but like I was a pretty like staple part of.
That's awesome.
Duluth has a pretty awesome music scene, actually. So I was just kind of ingrained in there, but what I didn't know was like, I didn't have any rules for myself about like how accessible the venue would be, and like I'd get carried to the bathroom or carried up on stage, and that was just like kind of how everything went. So it wasn't really the wheelchair wasn't an issue, but I also didn't make it an issue. Like,
what was the point
standards?
What was the point that got you to be like, no, I'm only gonna do gigs that are accessible?
A couple of different big things. Like the first was talking to Kaylin Heffernan of Wheelchair Sports Camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She has OI too. We should have had her on the show as well, and then it would have been everybody's brains would have exploded. So
Yeah. I can only handle
she
101, I think.
I know she's awesome.
She
But
is.
anyway, so
She's really cool.
we were talking, and she said they got booked at South by Southwest one year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of a big deal. They got like a big write up in a magazine and everything, but the venue they put him on was on the second floor, and there was no elevator.
Yeah.
And so she said they didn't know what to do because a bunch of people in wheelchairs showed up and wanted to see her play because she has a disability too.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with her, and she felt really bad, so they played a few songs outside.
Nice.
And then went up and did the show, but they got a bunch of angry emails the next day. And I was like, well, that wasn't your fault. Like, that was South by Southwest's fault. And she's like, yeah, but think about it. Like, if I want to be, like, a disability rights advocate, I just can't be doing that. And I was like, oh,
sure.
Crap, good point. I didn't really, like, put all of that together until that moment. And then the more I was noticing on the road because of Tiny Desk, we were touring quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my husband's pouring something. I don't know how loud it is over there.
You're
you
all
can
good.
hear everything.
It's not
okay.
too bad.
It's good. So, anyways, I wasn't sure. Like on the road, I had a stage plot. And I had bright red letters. Like Gaelynn Lea uses a wheelchair. She needs a ramp to the stage.
Yeah.
You can't lift it. It's like really obvious, except for that I would get to the venue and there would be no ramp at all.
Oh, yeah,
and they'd be like, "Whoa, we didn't notice that," or like I was like, "Did you see a picture of me?" Like, like, what?
Yeah.
And so then I would say, well, okay, fine, I'll do the show. You can lift me up, but then next time I really want to have a ramp, or they'd be like, oh, we really need to get a ramp. But I would come back like a year later, and they wouldn't have a ramp.
Exactly.
And sometimes they would have a ramp the first time and not at the second time. Like, it was just not consistent. And I was like, why wouldn't you get a ramp this time? Like, I've been here before.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, last time we just carried you up and it was fine. So I realized like things weren't going to change unless I set some boundaries, because even though they like said they wanted one, they weren't actually getting one. Even though they knew me by that point, and I was like, this isn't cool, and it wasn't really safe. Like I had one show where they had to carry my chair down a whole flight of stairs, which is really heavy. It's like 300 pounds.
Yeah, you're big. I don't think I've ever seen, only in pictures, but you have this like lightweight electric chair too, right? Don't you have
No. Nope, I have used the manual overseas
Maybe that's
a
why
few
I thought.
times.
Yeah.
But I hate doing that. If I don't have to do that, I would really prefer not to. And so they would lift it down, and then also I started thinking like panicky, kind of like, what if somebody comes and they can't get in? Like, like I would just feel really bad.
Yeah.
So I just I started with the commitment to not play. I mean, they have to be able to get in the door, use the bathroom, and see the stage. Those are like, so it's not like ADA compliant only, even. Like, it's I want people to just be able to enjoy the show. And then eventually I added on that if they didn't have a ramp to the stage, that I would just play on the floor. Yeah. Because it makes a statement without me having to be a jerk about it.
Totally, it does, yeah.
Like if they don't have one, I just say, well, and they're always like, oh, we're happy to lift you up. But I usually just say, well, that's fine. I'm just going to play on the floor. And it's kind of awkward for them, but then they
just make everybody sit on the floor.
Yep. And then a lot of people do build ramps because of that, though. They're like, oh, well, we don't want you on the floor. We'll build a ramp. And I'm like, okay, well, great. So I don't know. It's evolution, I guess. Like it's not necessarily.
Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people sometimes assume that we're trying to be like, oh, it needs to happen right now, like accessibility. But like, it's all about growing towards it. Like these things. I mean, mind you, these businesses have had 30 years to do it, so I don't know if they need any more time.
I don't feel that much pity at this time.
Well, that's my thing about if it's a corporation. That's always been my thing, right? My friends and I used to joke about the cripple card. That like I only make a big deal about it if it's a corporation. But if it's like a mom and pop shop, for me, I'm like, well, as long as they're really trying, right? They're actively trying, and that's changed over the years. But corporations have no excuse. They have the millions of dollars and 30 years to do it.
Yeah, at this point, there really isn't an excuse. And like the thing that I think, though, this is why I'm this is why I'm trying to do it for myself in my own career, is like I do want people to realize, but sometimes it does just mean moving your business to a better location.
For
And it
sure.
doesn't mean a more expensive location, but like if you're on the second floor and you know you're never going to be able to afford an elevator,
Yeah.
then you should probably just find another place to rent and open up your business. Like,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, like 30 years down the road, which is where we're at,
Yeah.
like at some point you do kind of just have to say, well, what we're doing isn't cool, and I know we're not like millionaires, but we could look
Yeah.
for another building to rent.
And it's wild to think even like I went to college in Philly, and the disability services department was inaccessible, and that was like
What?
that was the
Are you kidding
funniest
me?
thing to me, the
Oh my
funniest
gosh.
thing. And they would like tell me I had to come to a meeting, and I'm like, well, I can't get there. Like I'm
What?
not going to
Yeah.
come. You can meet me on the sidewalk.
That's so silly. And the thing is like I don't have a lot of sympathy for colleges in
Oh, not at
particular
all.
because
I
they
had
have
none. Yeah.
humongous budgets.
Yeah.
Um, and even if they're struggling, this is again, it's 30 years old. We're
Yeah.
not talking about
It
something
didn't
that's
come
new.
out of nowhere.
No,
This.
it's not new. So like at that point, it's like, well, we really got to get the act together on that kind of stuff. Disability services specifically, that's the
It was
ridiculous.
insane. I didn't understand it. College. But what before I saw where was I going? Oh yeah. A friend of mine, Amanda McGrory, actually met you at a speaking engagement, I think. She's a Paralympian. You guys
Oh,
spoke at like some I think in Florida or something. But it made me think, were you doing those kind of speaking disability advocacy things before? Like, had you been doing that alongside your music, or is that like a newer thing for you?
it's so funny how everything kind of came together.
Yeah,
So
it works like that.
so yeah, I released my first album 4 months before I won the Tiny Desk, and then about 6 months before I won the Tiny Desk, I did my first speaking engagement. So basically, the Health and Human Services conference in our hometown was seeking proposals, and I had just been. It wasn't that long. It was only 2 years before I got a lot of. I had a lot of struggles keeping healthcare when I got married.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And a lot of not just that, but like a lot of misinformation from the caseworkers, and then also
Hmm.
really rude. Like one of them told me to like get a divorce without like any like this is bad
You'll
news or
just be
like I'm
better off.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really, really bad. And so I was like, I wish I could talk to them about like just some of these hidden barriers that they're kind of
Yeah.
perpetrating, and in a way that's not like shame on you, but like kind of just educating people about. So I did the
You're
conference,
so kind about
and
these things to people.
I try to be. I mean, I just think I was like, well, would I want to work with someone if they hated
Oh
my
yeah,
guts?
no,
Probably not.
totally. Yeah,
So
yeah.
so anyway, so I did that one, and then I was working with a business coach at the time, which if you are self-employed, I would highly recommend
Yeah,
like
yeah.
at least once or twice. Like it was so helpful because she was just like so spitting out ideas, and I'm like, what? I've never thought of any of this. So she said, because I was saying, well, that was a really cool experience. I might want to do more speaking, but how am I ever going to get other gigs?
Yeah.
But she's like, well, you just put it on your website, and you do another gig, and you get a few people to like write a comment card and have their quotes on your website. I mean, I did what she said, and then I started getting speaking gigs. Like in my hometown, it was just like if you put it out there, then
Yeah.
people know that you do it. I mean, obviously, it helps if you kind of know what you're talking about. Obviously,
Yeah.
but in this case, I felt like I had something to share, and so I had started doing speaking gigs about 6 months before, and then when I won the Tiny Desk, I wasn't planning on doing like conferences, but I got a lot of requests, so I do most of the time when I speak. I also play at the end,
Oh,
and
nice.
so
Yeah, yeah.
it's sort of a package deal for them, and then it also pays way better than playing at a coffee shop.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's kind of how we've kept ourselves alive. Because I don't think, realistically, I don't think we would have been able to tour as long as we did if there wasn't
Yeah, you were on the
something.
road a while.
Yeah, 3 years. But my
Yeah.
gigs were like not huge. They were getting better. They were finally starting to get bigger.
Yeah.
Not the one that you and I did. Sorry.
No,
But
that's fine.
there was overall they were like increasing in size, but it was still like it's hard to make ends meet if you're traveling all across the country.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then because of my wheelchair, I don't stay at people's houses very often because
Yeah, yeah.
So we do like.
I definitely do think I have that.
hotels.
I can't imagine touring with an electric chair. Like my chair is tiny and
Yep.
can fit through anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I can't. That would be a lot harder, and it would make you realize, like, hey, I need to make this accessible so that it's more enjoyable for me.
That's part of it. Is I mean, like when we stay at people's houses, the reason we kind of don't do that very often is a lot of people say, "Oh, I've only got one step," but it turns out they actually have two. They have the
Yes.
one to get in and then
Yep.
the one to get in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually really hard to ramp those situations
Yeah.
because the ramp just like I can't explain it without drawing it out, but
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Especially when it's
And
like that weird lip. Like there's like a
the
lip.
lip
It's
up
not even
to-
a step. It's just like a
Yep,
weird
it's
ass
like
bump.
like a speed bump that you
Yeah.
can't get over.
Yeah, speed
so
bump
those
doorway.
yes, those are bad, and so it just makes those trips stressful because you're like
Yeah.
struggling to get around. And then and I'm also not as extroverted as one might think, and so
I think that's really common with people that tour and do art. I think a lot of us are. I'm more introvert than extrovert for sure.
see, and nobody would believe you if you
No,
said that,
nobody
right?
believes me.
Nobody believes me either. And I'm like, no, I swear. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the night, I can talk to people all night at a show, but then at the end, I really like to just go to like a hotel room and hang out and not
Yeah.
talk to anyone.
Yeah, we've
I
done
mean, I'll
some
talk to my
crazy
husband, obviously.
tours, and if I'm with a group of people touring, I definitely like hide backstage or in the corner having a drink, like in the dark. Even at the show we did together, I was like, "Oh, people, all right." There's like,
Oh crap! I have to talk to them.
gotta talk to them.
But you were in the back. You were in the back for part of that. I remember when
I hide.
Jack
Yeah.
found you. Yeah, you were. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I mean, I
good
get
for
it. It's kind of overwhelming. I mean, after the show, I'm a lot more outgoing than before. I get
Yeah.
really anxious. And that's the thing is, so I think it seems maybe extreme that I'm like, oh, every place has to be able to be accessible, but I'm not even touching the green rooms here. Like,
Oh yeah.
most of the time, I'm just in the bathroom
Yeah, I've
stall.
never gone in.
Like-
There are very few green rooms I've actually gone in.
Yeah, like in New York City, it was like a legit venue and it was pretty well sold and it was a big show and I ended up having my green room in the mop closet.
Yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
you know, I was like, well, this is fine, whatever, but I'm not going to feel bad about saying you
Yeah.
have to have an accessible bathroom because I'm not even like going down the
Totally.
green room road yet. Like,
And I
that's,
think
like,
New York
evolution.
City is tough for me because everybody talks about it's the greatest city in the world, but I think it's like one of the worst cities in the world if you use a wheelchair.
Oh yeah, it's pretty
It's
bad.
horrible.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, yeah, I mean, I like it anyways. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
so the only two cities I still like that are inaccessible are Edinburgh, Scotland,
Okay.
just because it looks
It's
like it's out
Edinburgh,
of Harry
Scotland.
Potter.
Yeah.
And you're like, that staircase is beautiful, even though you can't use it. You're like,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. And I don't know why it's so pretty. I'm in New York City just because it's kind of cool, but it's really difficult to get around. And
Yeah.
New Orleans is like that too. Like,
New Orleans is like that because all the
I love
sidewalks
it,
are
but
just,
it's not accessible.
they're all torn
Yep.
to shit.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I don't know.
Do you feel like since COVID, we've been on, I don't know how many different digital things together, a few.
Several, yeah.
And I feel like people are actually starting to give a shit and want to hear what we have to say about disability, like theory. I don't even know, there's not even words for it yet, I don't feel like.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
philosophy, theory, I don't like how we view the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you're right that it is starting to develop kind of rapidly. Like, I don't know if it's just because people on social media finally have a way to like get their message out,
Maybe. Yeah.
or
The,
maybe
the
people
playing
realize,
field
well,
got leveled a bit. Like,
Yeah, it
because
did.
there's so many places we couldn't go. Like, I know for me in Philly, it was really hard to network for gigs because to get gigs, you have to go to gigs.
Yeah,
And then you can't go to them when there's stairs and you're by yourself. And it's so much harder to network when it's like that.
yeah.
But on the
No,
internet,
I agree.
I've gone to way more shows digitally than I would have this year. Like,
That's cool. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's neat that several people have told me that like this year they feel more included in society than they ever have before, which is, I mean, it's like, I think that's pretty telling. And I think maybe it's because people finally are starting to identify like the chronic illness community as disabled. And maybe that's where the bridge is kind of crossing over because I do know that like some people are like, yeah, I don't look disabled, but I couldn't go to a show because I wouldn't know if I could like
Yeah,
have a bathroom nearby or if I could
totally.
stand that long, or maybe there's some. I don't know how. I don't know why the dialogue stuff. Maybe Crypt Camp. I don't think it was just that
I
though.
don't think it was
Something
just Crip Camp. Crip Camp was epic, though. I did watch
it
it.
was. I cried
I did too.
basically the entire
Me too.
time.
Yeah,
I
it was so good.
cried a lot. I didn't expect to cry that much. I knew I would get like choked up, but I was
Yeah.
just like man sobbing
Did you
basically.
kind of? I know growing up, it reminded me of growing up because I did wheelchair sports and I was around lots of people with disabilities through it. But we would only see each other like 2 weeks out of the year, and they would be like the greatest 2 weeks, and then you'd be like, oh shit, I have to go home. Where like it sucks, but it doesn't suck. Like I had a great childhood. Don't get me wrong, but it's tough being like the only cripple in town. And I
Yeah,
don't know if it was like that for you or if you were around other crips or.
that's the weird thing. I wasn't really. I mean, I was. I mean, of course I was because I rode the short bus to
Mm-hmm.
school, and I
Yeah, but
had
that's
another
such a
friend.
different. Yeah,
But then I had a friend who we shared the same aid,
nice.
and she was a good friend when we were younger. We ended up not being very much alike, so we didn't really stay
Yeah,
as
yeah,
close. But she and I were really close when we were little kids, but we were the only two Crips that I knew.
yeah.
And then that ballet class, I guess, like I would see people, but I did not. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to relate to the disability community until I got a lot older because I wasn't in that situation. Like I went
Yeah.
to the OI Foundation conference this 2 years ago,
Oh wow.
and I led a session for the kids, and I was so jealous because I was like, man, I did not have this experience of like my best friends and they all have the same disability as me and like that we get each other. Like I didn't
Yeah.
have that at all, and so I kind of distanced myself and like not tried to be normal, but I did try to like
Oh, that
I
makes
did
sense.
want to like be really really independent, and I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of influence from crip culture until like college, which is
Yeah.
really weird. I was like, I do wish that that had been part of my childhood. I don't
And for me, it's
regret
the
my
opposite.
childhood.
It's like
Yeah.
complete. I think I abandoned crip culture when I went to college. I was like,
Oh yeah. No, that's when I was like, wait, this is a
yeah,
thing.
I was
Like,
the opposite because I grew up doing sports, and then about when I turned 20, I quit doing sports, and I just was like, this isn't reality. Reality isn't surrounded by everybody that's disabled. I want
oh
to
my gosh,
go.
so different, interesting.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, I want to go out there and see what it's like. And then I think I'm at an even balance now. Like
Yeah.
it's just a status. It's grounded now.
Well, yeah, I don't think you need to have like I was thinking about this with diversity in general.
Hmm.
Um, because I think I was slamming white males or something, which is bad. You should not do that. And I like
It's
was
fine.
watching a TV show or something,
They've
and I
been
was like,
on
ah.
top for a while. It's
I know,
fine.
but I mean, the point is too like, what do you want? Do you want like actual diversity where that would include white males too? I mean,
Exactly.
not
It
like
has
kind
to.
of like it has to, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the idea of like you don't really want everyone to be like you. I didn't,
Yeah.
like I just, in Minnesota, it's not super racially diverse where I live, and I wish like I also go to schools and like when I play at schools that are more diverse.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I wish I could have been around that as a kid too, because I feel like we got kind of sheltered into like what thinking, I didn't have any other disabled friends really, and like they were all definitely white because of where I live, and I just kind of feel like the world is such a cool place, but you do
Hmm.
kind of have to make a point of surrounding yourself with different kinds of people, which doesn't look like all cripples.
But
Like,
maybe that's why we're getting more like asked to be in talks and stuff is because now with the internet, everybody has the internet now. I feel like not everybody, but you know what I mean.
but a lot of people
A
do.
lot of
Yes.
people do, a lot more than when we were younger.
Mhm.
And you can explore that. Your demographic has widened because of that, and I think
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. I don't know. I always felt like little kids were always way more accepting
Yeah.
because they don't know these like social norms of things being bad,
Yeah.
whatever
No, I
that
know.
is. Because they're like, oh, you seem nice.
Well, the best thing I ever heard it explained as
I'm
was
excited.
ironically from the the Trump administration,
Oh, no.
State Department. No, State Department,
Okay,
and they're
all right.
cool. State Department are like career
Yeah, they've been
people
there
building
forever.
relationships.
Yeah,
Those people are cool. But I got involved with the State Department a few different times doing like disability rights stuff.
yeah,
As an artist, so I don't have to like toe the company line. I can just
totally.
say what I think, and it's pretty cool because they're. But they said to me once that they want the State Department to look like America actually looks,
Yeah,
and
it
that
should.
it was like, dang, that's kind of what everybody should just be aiming for.
Yeah,
And so it's like it doesn't leave. It really doesn't leave any group out,
yeah,
or only center on like it's just a cool model to think about. So I have work to do. Like I'm doing these weekly shows,
yeah,
and I want to make sure that I remember that, like that that I want to make them diverse in a lot of different ways, not just like
yeah.
one direction. So it's fun
You
to
could have
like
One
realize
Direction on there, though. I think kids would be very excited.
with the kids. Is that even a band
I don't know.
anymore? Oh my gosh!
I don't know that I've ever heard a One Direction song, so I don't.
I don't think I have. Have you ever seen the movie Josie and the Pussycats? Totally random.
In the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah, I've
Where
seen it.
like all boy bands are just prefabricated government control agents or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's true. That's based on fact, right?
I guess it's a documentary. I didn't realize, but yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know why, but I have a soft spot for that movie. I watched it a lot growing up. So
Yeah.
yeah, but boy bands are ridiculous.
I didn't get into boy bands. I was really into
Wow.
rap music for a
Really?
while. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was
No.
really into it.
I was not really into boy bands, but my cousins, who are some of my best friends still, and when I was growing up, they were
Yeah.
obsessed with NSYNC. So we have a couple incriminating music videos we made that shall never see.
Yeah, I have a couple of
Hopefully.
them. I have a couple of
Like,
them. Yeah. I can't
are
imagine
yours
being a
rap
kid now.
videos?
Yeah, we're not. No, they don't exist.
Okay,
They don't
well,
exist.
you have a Twitch channel. It's a perfect place to debut them.
Yeah, I haven't burned all of that. No.
I know
um,
you need.
what is there anything that like you seem pretty level-headed, Gaelynn? I'm gonna say this. You seem pretty level-headed.
Okay.
Is there anything that like makes you like self-righteous crip? Like, oh yeah, burn the ableists. Is there anything that like gets you fired up like that? You're like, no, this now.
I mean, I'm getting more, not the word militant, but pretty serious about
Let's
if
go
you
with it.
don't.
Militant.
Okay, if you don't hold your event at an accessible place in 2020,
Yeah.
you probably just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone. That's the thing is a lot of people give DIY and mom and pop shops a pass, and I don't really do that anymore because
Yeah.
again, it's 30 years later.
Totally.
So like,
No, yeah. Like even
yeah.
we do a local show. We don't do it now, obviously. You know, they know. But when we did, it was in a communal backyard in Philly, and as
Yeah.
soon as I joined, we did everything. Like we built ramps. We have ramps there now. And
That's
there are
cool.
ways that anybody can come. We did have a ramp
Yeah.
stolen once, and that wasn't our fault. But
That's a bummer.
yeah, but we fixed it. And I think if we could do it, right? Just like we did it on no budget. Our
Yeah, it
show
doesn't
is
have to
like
cost
$50
$1 billion.
budget or whatever. Well, it's more than that.
Mhm.
But not we it comes out of our pockets. If we can do it, then a business can do it. It's doable.
Yeah. Because it's like, you pay your taxes, you
Yeah.
get up to fire code. It kind of just has to be at that level
It should
in
be.
2020.
Yeah.
Like, and then anything else, like a lot of attitudes are terrible, but I believe that part of it is we don't educate in the schools. So if I could make one change, like as dictator of the universe or something,
Mhm.
I would have disability history in all the schools. Like I think
Yeah.
it's really I can't believe I didn't learn about Section 504 until I watched Drunk History.
Oh wow.
Like what?
Okay.
Like, that is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I should have learned that. I mean, how cool would it have been to learn that as a kid
Yeah.
and be like, man, Crippies are amazing, and
Yeah.
they shut down this building forever, and got what they
Yeah.
needed legally. I think that would have been so cool. So I did not learn about that until I was like in my middle 30s, and that seems ridiculous.
Yeah,
so,
there's lots of things like that. When I was in high school, I didn't pay attention in history class very much.
I don't know if I did either. I don't
Yeah,
think we
it was-
learned about it. I can't.
No, we
clear-
didn't. But then
clearly
one
say.
day, I remember coming to class and the teacher being like, oh, I wish I could remember his name, but he was, I was late to class because I was always late to class in high school. because I was
too.
allowed to be for
Yep,
some
me too.
reason. Yeah, because I wasn't. I didn't have to be in the halls when it was crowded, so I would just take my time. And so I show up late, and he was like, "World War II, FDR, go!" And I like went off. I just was like, I knew it because I wanted to know cripple history. Like, I was trying to know it, but like I lived in a very small town and no internet really, and can't look that stuff up back then. And
No, yeah.
but I knew everything that our history book knew about FDR, and then because of that, they put me in it was mostly an African American studies course, but the teacher changed the curriculum to have disabled history in it as well,
What?
which is really
Cool.
cool. I was very lucky for
Whoa.
that. Yeah.
Wait, so you might know something that I don't know. I was actually literally wondering this the other day.
I still got C's, so
Okay,
I might not
well,
know.
Okay, if you do know this, I would love to know. Like, so FDR had polio as a kid,
Well,
and then
no, he
he
got
couldn't-
childhood That's something that I was always kind of confused about because he got polio. I thought he got it like when he was a senator. I believe he was maybe a
Oh,
governor.
you can get it as an adult. I guess
Yeah,
I
you
just
can
didn't
get
even know that.
childhood polio, I think, as an adult, or maybe it's like one of those disabilities that attacks you later. That was something that always confused me too. But he didn't show signs of it until he was like in his he was a governor or congressman or whatever.
Okay, so he was. That's my question. Was he already in office when he developed his disability?
Well,
kind of, or like enough where people knew that he had one, or pretended
People
not to
didn't.
know. I mean, I know they kept it.
Yeah. A lot of it was kept a secret because the people couldn't know. The American public could not know. But
I wonder what would have happened if they had known. That's like
during World
interesting.
War II, they would have got him out of there quick,
You
and
think
the world
so?
would be a very different place. I don't
What
think.
if he had dropped the bomb like right after his third election? He'd be like, "Guess what?"
I think
think-
people. I always felt like people kind of knew at that point because
Okay.
he was getting sick, if I remember right. Like his health was deteriorating.
Okay,
And-
I'm just wondering. What an
Yeah.
interesting thing. If he's
But
already
there's
had a
people
good
that
president.
knew. There's definitely a lot of people that knew. You know, reporters definitely just turned down the cameras. He was 39 when he got it. Somebody looked it up.
Oh,
But
interesting. Okay.
he came from a very wealthy family. So like his family was in politics and like Theodore Roosevelt is his uncle, great uncle or something.
You're like, I did get a C.
Yeah, I
so
did get
we're
a
not
C.
there.
But it's his relative. So like they were already involved in politics and he was like, you know, high society. Like he was
Oh, yeah.
going to be a politician.
No, that makes sense. I was just wondering if he.
Oh, and he
into
got he
politics.
contracted it at 39, they're saying. So you can
Oh,
get
wow.
it as an adult apparently.
This is a very educational podcast.
Yeah, I
Good
never
job,
knew
Eric.
that. I never knew. It's nice to learn.
You're like, let me straighten my hair.
Yeah, I had like fluff in it.
Yep.
But I think that's good. Is there any books you've read as an adult? Like, have you read? I haven't read it all. So, but the Ugly Laws. Do you know about the Ugly Laws?
Oh, what is that?
The Ugly Laws
No.
are based on in America. There are all these laws to keep cripples out of society. And
Not the marriage, like not the
no,
anti-marriage.
not just that, but like if you looked a certain way, you could not.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What
There's
would happen? They would put you away?
Yeah, they would like institutionalize you and stuff.
I mean, I'm
From
not
what I remember.
surprised, but I
Yeah.
did. We went to the coolest, not coolest, but one of the best things we got to do, I think, on tour is we went to the Museum of Disability History in upstate New York one
Nice.
time. And it's just like, that's where you kind of start to realize, too, that racism intersects with, I mean, not that start to realize, but it's very clear that
Yeah.
racism intersected with ableism and like
Mhm.
eugenics and all this stuff. Like there was this guy who was asked to leave or something. He was black. He broke a plate because he got mad, but they institutionalized him for
Yeah.
the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that is, yeah. And there was no real, I mean, he probably had no real diagnosis even.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. I was looking up the Ugly Laws, and it was from 1867 to 1974.
Isn't that sad how recent this is?
Yeah,
And we don't
10 years
even
before I
learn
was
about
born.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
I know.
was various cities in the United States had unsightly beggar ordinances, is what they said them. but they were the ugly laws, and they were to keep out diseased, maimed, mutilated, and in any way deformed people.
So we would have been screwed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's really sad. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I always think. I mean, there's a lot of cool people that made change. Obviously, Judy Heumann and all the people that. But like, I'm grateful to have been born in '84. I can't lie to you. Like,
Same.
It would be a really different world.
I mean, it's wild to think when we were born, there was no ADA.
Yeah, and like by the time I went to kindergarten, there was only one school in the city that I could go to because it had an elevator, and that's the one I went to. But at least I was like mainstreamed and stuff. Even 10 years earlier, I don't know what year were you born?
Same, 84.
Oh, okay. So we're actually wow, cool. Yeah. So there's a guy in my town with my disability who was born many years earlier. He's in his 60s, and he had to be carried up the stairs to his school and then put in a special ed classroom, even though he didn't have any learning difficulties.
And that's such a weird. I don't know if they still use mainstreamed. But that was such a thing when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I mean that's probably not even like.
Yeah, I was so scared to be put in the special school. Quite a lot. I was so scared.
Wait, they actually had a special school where you
were?
Well,
a section, you know. No, I think when I was a kid, because I went to a really small school from kindergarten to 8th grade. I think the whole school maybe had 100 to 120 people.
Oh, that's small, yeah.
And my grade had 24. We were the biggest class in the school. There were classes with like 4 kids, like.
Wow, weird. Okay.
And they had me, so we luckily had one African American teacher, which is very unheard of, especially in my small town. And she drove from Philadelphia every day. And she was like she was like, no, he can go here. Like that kind of thing. Oh,
they actually did try to suggest that you couldn't go there?
Mm-hmm. My mom had to fight. Wow. My mom went to a school board meeting, and the year before I was supposed to go to school, and they were like, she was like, Eric's going to start school next year. And they were like, no, he's not. He's not coming here. And my mom had to like fight and be like, yeah, you had to.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, that's the thing is like being complacent about this stuff is not okay because we're not really out of the woods. You know what I mean? Like, we definitely aren't. It's not like it's the same as any minority, like oppressed group, but like we don't have equal rights, that's for sure. But like our history was pretty ridiculously terrible. I mean, it still is in a lot of cases, but like till the 70s or 80s, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about as like unthinkable was like totally legal.
Yeah.
Like, even my parents' lifetime.
Yeah, I even remember we had, Rick is here. He might know what it was called. There was like an institution right near my house. That
really?
That I remember being like, oh, I hope I never have to go there. Like, I don't know, like I was always kind of scared of that stuff. I think I still am. Especially with this guy, you know?
Well, yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's the thing is, I guess I never felt that, it sounds funny, but I never felt like my disability really impacted my options until coronavirus, because I just can't risk. I mean, I'm really high risk. My lungs are like a third the size of a regular person, like normal person size lungs, and it's not just that; it's that like our society isn't doing what it could do.
Yeah,
like people who aren't wearing masks and stuff. That makes me really upset.
I saw
it's like
6 people walk by our house today without masks.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like, I wouldn't have to be this isolated if everybody was just doing, like, I know a vaccine is like the goal, blah, blah, blah. And obviously I will get one of those when they come out, unless it's November 2nd, and then I'm not getting one until
December. I'm not getting one until it's thoroughly tested.
Yes, but I am going to get one, but I don't think it had, like, from everything I've read, if everyone just wore masks, like everyone, the world could resume for people like us who are like definitely not going places. And I've never felt that my disability really changed my trajectory. And I know a lot of people are being careful. I'm not saying that everyone else is living regular lives or whatever, but like,
no, they're a bunch of jerks. You can tell them. You can tell my chat that.
No, I mean, like, my family's being careful. Yes, but there are, but even them, they're not as.
They don't have to live the way we do right now.
You what?
They don't have to be as worried about it as we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
So it's
I
like,
literally haven't left our yard since
wow.
March.
So you don't go on walks with a mask on or anything?
No.
Did you ever go on walks before?
No.
Oh, okay. Well then,
That didn't
I go
change
on
much.
walks a lot because I have always done that.
Yeah.
And that is like, but we don't go. I mean, we obviously don't go in anywhere. So I had to go to a doctor appointment, and I realized it was. Well, no, we put our dog down in June, which was
Very
really
sorry.
sad. She got cancer. And she
Very
had to die. Like she was not doing well at all. So we had to put her down. But I realized as we went into this appointment to go put her down that we hadn't been inside any other building besides our apartment since March.
Yeah.
And it was June. And I was like, whoa. And even then, I think I've maybe gone to 2 doctor appointments, and that's actually it. And so, and I'm okay with that. But it is like, this is why disability rights is important, because if people say things that are kind of uneducated, like, oh, they should just stay home. It's like, this has been done. This has been done before. We don't need to go back to
It wants to go back to those laws.
Yeah. I don't want to
Exactly.
be in a, yeah, that's
And they
not
talk
where we
about,
need to-
I think, and we're running out of time, and I'm sorry if I'm keeping you.
sorry.
But
we could talk for 5 hours. Like,
we
instead of your
could.
day,
I mean, there's no
just
time
watch
limit
it.
here. We can go as long as we want, but
Well, eventually I am going to.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
sisters are sitting in her backyard with our masks on,
very fun.
having a bonfire in their backyard.
I think that we'll kind of wrap up on this. I think like, it is tricky because I see these people on TV that are like, it's infringing my rights that you're telling me I have to stay home and not I have to wear a mask, and I'm like, but you're telling me that I have to.
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah.
So it's like so hip, and I feel like a lot, all the isms are hypocrites. That's the whole thing. Is it's okay it's bad when it's them, but it's fine for us.
Well, so the reality is I think how I started thinking about it is it's like you think about the Constitution, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right?
Mhm.
You think about those, and there's an order: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness,
Yeah.
and life. If you're gonna kill a bunch of people because they're not wearing a mask and getting everybody sick,
That's the first one.
that trumps
Yeah.
like liberty. And for me, like, I'm not gonna demand personally to sit to like go in a store that requires masks. Me personally,
Yeah.
I will just do curbside, because like if I can't, like if I couldn't wear a mask, I wouldn't say I need to go in the store and put other people at danger. I really
Yeah.
think the life, liberty, but that's why it's hard. Is it's sometimes you don't get everything you want, and you have to be willing to make some sacrifice for the good of other people. So that's why the mask thing seems like such an easy one.
It's so easy.
But I mean, but I'm not saying that I need to go and like do everything exactly the same as I did, because again, it's not. I don't get to put other people at risk, and
Exactly, and they shouldn't be allowed either.
And I don't necessarily have to say, well, you can't go to your office job just because it wouldn't be safe for me. I don't really believe that either.
Yeah,
I think it's like you do have to make your own choices, but when it involves the public good, it's like some things trump other things.
And I think
hate the word trump now. I wish there was
it's
a better
such hard
word.
work.
What is a better word?
Beats out.
Beats out.
And that sounds bad too, though. I don't know what we should.
Well, yeah,
say that.
None of the words are good.
But I think one thing I really hope for is that there's been a lot of bad with COVID, but in some weird ways, there's been some good. People with disabilities have gotten to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
We could have done this always, but hopefully that stays. Hopefully it stays.
Well, I better say I can't imagine. I mean, it would be very. I hope that agencies will realize that it would be real sketchy of them to try to take those situations away now.
And then I'm into the digital concerts. I personally want to try to live stream all my not real, but in-person concerts from now on, because for people that can't make it that night, because they're not doing so good.
I agree. I think there's a few cool things that happened with virtual concerts that I wasn't expecting, and one is just how many people are feeling included when they're usually excluded. That's a really big deal. One is that you can have an international audience at your concert, and like that's not something that you can do at a live show. And then the idea that you can caption it and stuff. And I've been struggling with that a lot because YouTube is not making it easy to caption.
I'm gonna help you out.
My
You got that
shows.
computer now. I'm gonna help you out.
I know I had to upgrade because I was like, this isn't gonna work. But I think the idea that we can make art more accessible.
Yeah.
And like easily. I don't know, and from what I'm gonna try to work on my Patreon more this winter. I'm taking time off from other shows. You're my last event before my sabbatical begins.
But you're still gonna do your weekly shows. I'm actually in one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find a way to call it. You're a guest on that on November 30th?
29th.
November 29th.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, he will be on my show. I'm doing the weekly shows, but that's it. So I'm just gonna do those. And then I'm going to write during the week because I want to write a book about kind of all this stuff we just talked about.
That's awesome. I'm excited to read it.
Yes, except for not as much on FDR because I don't know anything. So
we're going to research. Chat is requesting we do a part 2 sometime. So we'll do that sometime.
Sweet.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah,
I hope you had fun.
It's really nice to see you.
It's great to see you.
And nice to meet your audience. Tell people... Sunday, tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock Eastern.
I will link it.
On my YouTube page.
What's your... Hold on, I have it right here.
YouTube.com/GAELYNNLEA.
I got it. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, go here. Chat.
Central Time.
2 o'clock Central, so 3 o'clock Eastern Time.
Yes.
Go check out... Oh, your mug is magical, my wife is saying.
My Christmas mug?
Yeah, your Christmas mug. She's loving it.
I know, I'm a Christmas person, so
she is too.
The only way I could live in Minnesota, because it's already snowed here like 4 times.
No way.
Yeah, so it's only stuck once, but it has snowed a lot, and if I wasn't obsessed with Christmas, I would have a really hard time transitioning from fall to winter.
Yeah.
But since I let myself get excited about the holidays, I can adjust my mind to winter, because winter... it's harder to get around, and so I mean, for everyone, but especially if you can't walk over snowing. So
electric chairs, weirdly, are not waterproof. I'll never understand it.
I know.
They
actually,
hate
I
water.
want somebody to invent a really cool electric chair that goes over snow and sand and is light.
Yeah.
And waterproof. Somebody's got to do that.
All right.
Anyone on your show, an engineer.
We'll talk to them. We'll get it happening.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thanks again for hanging out. Yeah. Have fun at your fancy barbecue fire backyard.
Just fire, no barbecue. We're too wussy to eat things around people. We'll just hang out in their backyard.
I'm the same way, yeah.
From a great distance. But at least the fire will keep us warm because, again,
it's
becoming
winter
here.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. Well, it's nice to see you, Eric.
Nice to see you. I'll talk to you soon.
Tell Mel I say hi.
I will. She says hi right back.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Bye.
See you on November 29th on my show.
We'll see you tomorrow, too. Mel's screaming bye. I just heard her.
Oh, yeah. Wait, tomorrow? When am I seeing her tomorrow?
No, I'll swing by your show and say hi.
You should. Oh, I would love that. Yes, you should do that.
All right.
Sweet.
It's great to see you.
Soon.
Bye.
Bye, my friend. Bye.
Hello, chat. What's up? That was so fun. Thanks for coming. I hope you all had a good time. If it is your first time to the channel, don't forget to hit follow. It's down in this corner, like way down there. Hit follow, because it helps me out, and it's free for you. And did you know if you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch account and subscribe to this channel for free. You can do it. It's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. But it helps me out, and it helps me continue to stream and to give you all the fun stuff. Hi. I'd like to thank you all for coming. Should we play some Minecraft? Yeah, you want to play? Let's do it. Let's do it, chat. I'm doing it. You can't stop. Oh, maybe you can stop me, chat. Maybe you can. Maybe you can stop me, chat. I'm kidding. I'm not going to open Minecraft. Actually, I did just open Minecraft, but I won't do it to you. Oh, did I freeze it? Oh, I froze the camera. Hold on. Okay, I unfroze it. Now I'm going to go hang out with my wife. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you tomorrow. Gaelynn's thing is tomorrow. We'll go visit her during my stream. Tomorrow I'll be streaming normal time. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all Next time, I don't think we're gonna raid anyway, because I don't know who we would raid. What time is her? I think it's the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, is what she said. So 2 p.m. Central, I believe. So yeah, thanks again. I will see you when I see you. Thanks for hanging out, chat. Don't forget to follow. Okay, bye.